world is still going crazy for comic book movies, and finally the world is happy that Marvel have sussed out the Hulk. The big reveal of Bruce Banner was one of the biggest draws in that original Avengers movie, and we still can't get enough. But apart from the movies and obviously comic books, even though the Hulk isn't in Civil War, it doesn't stop me wanting to check out his first ever video game. And yep, the Hulk has had his fair share, dating all the way back to 1984 with Questprobe featuring the Hulk. So in true Slopes Game Room fashion, and to help out my personal hype for the release of Civil War, I, DJ Slope, will be looking at the very first game based on the Hulk. Video games assemble!
This program will allow you to have an adventure without leaving your armchair. You will find yourself in a strange new world.
This is the text that shows up after you see the loading screen of Questprobe featuring the Hulk, the first of 3 graphical adventure games. Sadly, the series was originally supposed to be 12 long, with comic books to accompany each game. However, after only 3 games, starting with the Hulk, then Spider-Man, and finally the Human Torch and the Thing, publisher Adventure International went bankrupt, and the half-finished X-Men game was never released. But if you really want, you can find the unfinished game online, if you know what you're doing. So basically, the game is sort of a snazzy text-based adventure, with some nice imagery. You control the action not by side-scrolling or 1v1 beat-em-ups or even platforming. Instead, by the power of the English language. Oh boy. Okay, so let's try and set the mood. I'm Bruce Banner, tied hand and foot to the chair. Command me. What do you do? Now, these text adventure games are looking for one particular action word. It's important that whilst you're absorbing yourself in the world of the Hulk with the pretty decent pictures and storyline, that you, the player, try not to remove yourself too far away from fantasy as you're trying to input an action word as your command. Bite lip. This is a good example because, as you know, biting your lip can get you pretty angry. And what do we all want Bruce to do? Get angry. Ouch, I scream. I'm the Incredible Hulk, trademark. Now, rope breaks. This work out what action word to use and keeping up with the story by hitting enter is really what this game is all about. It's quite weird because you're not normally typing in sentences, it's just normally stuff like get item, or even more simply, something like dig. All you're really trying to do is type in the correct word to hopefully trigger the next sentence or 2 into the story. Now, I'm not ragging on old school text adventures here, they are surely a product of their time, and let's face it, they've aged probably worse than any other game genre that I can think of, especially when you consider point and click adventures have taken them over completely. But the fact is, they are quite hard to go back and play, when, well, let's face it, reading a comic book looks, feels and reads a lot better, and more importantly, it doesn't have any of this word guessing blocking your enjoyment. So take it as you will, the game is probably not going to be for the most of you, especially when you realise one word that isn't part of the action word library, in other words you don't use it at all, are you ready for this? Is smash. Yep, the Hulk smashes nothing in this game. Even better, when you do type in the smash command, you get this message. Sorry, the Incredible Hulk, trademark, is no vandal. So what's the story in this game all about then? Well, you're Bruce Banner, obviously, and unlike the comic, you bite your lip over and over to transform into the Hulk. You do this back and forth to find hidden gems which you use in a warp pipe which gets you a password for the chief examiner, and the game is over. What's the matter? Do you feel like I've skipped over the story a little bit here? Well, other than the fact that you meet a few interesting characters on the way like Ant-Man and Ultron, there really isn't that much here at all. And that's because the real story is in the comic books that come with it. You'd be mistaken in thinking that this game is probably going to be quite easy because you can just copy the comic book. but in fact, the game is sort of a sister story compared to the main story, which is found in the comic book. Quite an interesting idea if you ask me, and let's face it, what better guy to do it than Scott Adams? Scott Adams was actually approached by Marvel to go ahead and make this. After all, he did make one of the first ever text adventure games for home computers called Adventureland. Sadly, looking at this game, I personally feel like Mr. Adams' heart was just not in it. So, in a nutshell, Questprobe featuring the Hulk is without a doubt an utterly fantastic idea on paper, but honestly, if you ask me, it wasn't until the Green Goliath hit home consoles that we really got to see the Hulk at his best. Video games, assemble! Hey guys, thanks for checking out my video on the Hulk's first video game. I'm just here to tell you that this video is actually the second video in a 6-part series, covering not only the first ever Hulk game, but also the first Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and finally the Avengers, leading up to the release of what is probably my most anticipated film of the year, Captain America Civil War. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any. If you want to help the show, check out my Patreon to see videos like this early and to see some exclusive content. Follow me on social media by searching for Slope's Game Room, and that's it. This is DJ Slope signing out, and hopefully I'll see you all next time.